Good evening and welcome to the Strategy of the Week presentation for April 5th, 2013. My name is Todd Shaffer, Manager of Research for VectorVest, and I'll be providing your strategy presentation this evening. Tonight's presentation is titled Riding Out the Storm with the VectorVest Derby, and we're picking up the theme initiated by last week's strategy presentation by my colleague Kevin Crow. Kevin demonstrated a manual process to identify the best performing searches using our quick test methodology over some given signal dates. This is a well-established methodology using the VectorVest tools. The Derby tool was designed to automate that process. Every day, the VectorVest Derby tool tracks the performance of over 180 UniSearch portfolios, and it allows us to see instantaneously, right down to the current tick, which searches are performing well within the program. Now, the Derby tool is an additional subscription service from VectorVest, and it requires a real-time data feed. But before I lose those of you who aren't currently real-time subscribers or aren't interested in the Derby, stay tuned because I'm going to demonstrate for you a methodology you can use to benefit from this Derby analysis with your current subscription. Let me begin by introducing the Derby tool and show you how it works. We'll begin here on the home page. We're in the program. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But I wanted to get some live market action here so you can see how the Derby works in real time. I'm going to add to our home page another gadget, a mini graph of the VectorVest composite, which will show us how it's been performing today. And here you can see this orange line is the close from last night. So the market opened today gapping to the downside, but has been coming back, working its way back all day long. So we're still down on a day-over-day basis, but it has been working its way back up off of its low. I point this out because the Derby is very good at helping us identify reversal periods just like this one. So I'm going to come across to my tabs now, and I'm going to cross over to the Derby tab, and we'll click on it. So here we are in the Derby tool, and on the Derby view, and you can see with this resolution, I'm able to graph here about 10 or 11 different portfolios. What the Derby does is after the markets close every evening, it will run the Derby-ready searches and populate portfolios that are sitting idle until the market opens. At the market's open, it starts tracking the performance of each of those portfolios in real time. And it does it from two benchmarks, either from the prior close or from the market open for today. So on a prior close basis from last night's close, these are the top performing searches. And we're getting a little bit late in the afternoon, but we can see then with this uptrend in the market all day, we're starting to see more and more of the long searches start popping up to the top of the list, even though overall the market is still down. But I want to point out this Derby summary window. What the summary window is showing us is the bullish searches grouped together as a group. 26% of those searches are making money, have a positive return. If we look at the bearish searches, we have about 30.5% of the bearish searches are making money from the prior close, if you start counting from there. If we change from the prior close to the market open, notice we have 49% of the winning searches are bullish now versus 22 of the bearish searches making money. And so if we were watching this through the day, we would see how that balance was tipping from the bearish searches to the bullish searches. But the way this helps us understand market trend is when you see an even mix within the bullish or the bearish strategies themselves, or when you see a big differential between prior close and open performance, that's a great indication of a mixed market day. In other words, had the market gapped down today and continued falling, we'd see this bearish winners bar graph would be much taller than the losers. It would be lopsided. And of course, if you click on any of the portfolios, you can see the stocks within the portfolio and their individual performance. And you also get a mini graph of the portfolio's performance for the day. And here we can see Linda's losers surged through the morning, but has fallen off since that market has started to work its way back up off of the lows. So this is the intraday performance of all of 180 of these searches up to the current tick. But we also have a tool called the tote board within the Derby tool. It compiles the data or the performance for each of these searches over multiple days, and in fact, however many days you select. By default, we set up the tote board to look at the past 5 trading days. If I minimize the Derby summary for the moment, we'll uncover the data points here. Of course, we have all the names of the strategies. We're sorting these results by the total gain or loss over the last 5 trading days. So the biggest gainer has been Industry Group Plungers Canada. It's had 40% winners today. It's up 0.4 of a percentage point. It's made money 4 out of the last 5 days. It's had 64% winning trades in all of those 5 days. Overall, the total gain was 8.25%, which on an average daily basis is 1.6%. If we scroll down, the worst day it had, remember it lost money on one of the 5 days, it lost 2.7%. And we also calculate for each of the portfolios an efficiency factor. How well or how consistently did this portfolio perform over the past 5 days, irrespective of its total gain loss? So we look at the winning days, the winning trade percentage, and the maximum drawdown to calculate its efficiency. And so you have a lot of information here about the performance of each of these portfolios over any given date range. So for instance, if I click in the date window, I could go back on the RT Kicker combo to go back to the first red light in this series, back on the 4th of February, and I could see which strategy has performed the best and most consistently since that time frame. And here, the answer comes up just that fast. Marathon Short has been the best performer. It is down today, but it's made money 65% of the time over the last 43 trading days, 56% winning trades, and it's up 22, almost 23%. Its maximum drawdown, its biggest losing day, it pulled back 9%. And it has an efficiency factor of 33.08. If we go back to the Derby summary window, the Derby summary also analyzes the trend for us over the last 43 trading days. So on a prior close basis, over the last 43 trading days, 48% of the bullish searches have made money, 80% of the bearish searches have made money. If I change it back to our default 1-week time period, again, a decidedly bearish trend here with 86% of the bearish searches making money, only 2% of the bullish searches making money. And so again, the Derby summary window gives us great insight into what's going on in the trend internally within the VectorVest system in the market. So that very quickly is how the Derby tool works and what's going on in the background. But in the introduction, I told you that you could benefit from this study without having to actually subscribe to the Derby tool. And that's true because every day in the VectorVest views, we share with you the best performing 1-day and 5-day portfolios generated by this Derby tool. Obviously, you're getting a lot less information than having the full-blown tool, but the question is, can you use that to your advantage and can you use it to make money? To answer that question, I did a little study. Looking at our market timing graph here on a 1-year time frame, we have the price of the VectorVest composite above, and of course the moving averages of RT for our RT Kicker layout. I'm going to add to this layout the RT Kicker combo signals, which are the red and green lights that are confirmed in the color guard on the home page. And let's zoom in to this most recent market turn. For the study, I just wanted to know if I took the top performing 5-day bearish strategies on each of these confirmed red lights, how would they perform over this market turn? In other words, how well did the Derby do at correctly identifying winning searches? So here's my methodology. Let's go over to the VectorVest views. I'm going to open the calendar. I'm going to use my little quick date feature here. Change this to combo dates. If we scroll back, we see the first red light after the uptrend was on the 4th of February. So I'll select that date. And here are the views from the 4th of February. If I scroll down to the strategy section, here we documented, as we do every day, the best 1-day and 5-day performing searches. These are just the top 5 searches that were listed in the Derby at the end of the day. Since we're playing the red arrow, we must be bearish, and so I'll only test the bearish strategies: Last Hurrah, Vern's Vultures, and Ballistic New Highs Short. So I recorded those search names for that date. Let's move to the next red arrow. We see the next red arrow was the 13th. And here you can see I had a red light on the 13th and the 14th before the light changed back to yellow. So I've selected the 13th. I'll click OK. Here we are on the 13th with our best 1 and 5 day performers. But I noticed that on this day, the top 5 day winners are all bullish. And so obviously I wouldn't have any shorting candidates in my list on this day. But this is also indicative of a mixed trend where we're either transitioning or waffling in the trend. If we go back and look at the market timing graph on the 13th of February, that's the 13th. And we see that we had the red arrow. If we count back 5 days, the close is lower than the close 5 days ago. But really, if you look at the trend of this price action, because you're in this sideways consolidation pattern, you're back in that oscillation where it was enough to drive the signal, but we really haven't seen a reversal in trend. And so the Derby is a beautiful tool for identifying these kinds of situations. In any event, I went back to the views and I continued building my list. The next day was the 14th. 3 bearish searches. Moving on to the 21st. 5 bearish searches, and so on. That's the methodology for collecting the list of names, if you will. Let's move forward and let me show you the results of my tests. Due to formatting problems, I couldn't fit them all onto the one slide and still have the print large enough for us to all read. So I've broken them down into baskets, if you will. And we can see that that first basket of searches didn't perform that well, actually. We have basically trading flat with our test coming down at within 1% of a loss, but still a loss. Trading flat over that test bed period. And I thought, well, how can that be? Well, it goes back a little bit to what we talked about earlier with the Derby tool. This is what the tote board looked like on the 4th of February. Remember, we had that mix of, although we had a red light in the color guard, you didn't have a strong downtrending market, evidenced by the Derby performance. If I look at the market timing graph on February 4th, here's that first red light. The market actually trended up after that light, although the market had closed down on a 5-day basis. So all that makes sense. I'm still off to a rocky start here. Let's see what happened next. On the 13th, we didn't have any stocks listed, even though we had a signal. There were no short strategies, as we described before. The group from the 14th identified 3 winning strategies. Each of these now has nicer returns, 8 1/3, 14.5% for those 2 strategies, and we've annualized that gain as well. The next signal on the 21st, getting stronger into the downtrend now. Out of that consolidation, we have 5 bearish searches that all made money, ranging from 3.5% up to 12.19%. On the 25th, we identified 1 strategy, sinking sectors. It made 4.94%. And then the 21st, 2nd, and 5th, again, didn't return any shorting strategies. Again, an indication that the trend is not strengthening. I continued building my list of results until I came to the 1st of April. And I highlighted this in red because this is the day of the big dip. And when I annualize this number, gaining 7 1/3% over just a couple of days, that annualizes to an 890% return. That big a number would skew my results. Not to mention, 4 days is not a lot of time to get a feel for how the strategy is really performing. And so I decided not to include the 1st of April or any dates thereafter in this test bed to give me a better feel for how the sample is actually performing. And here's the roll-up of those results. We ran a total number of 12 tests. Of those 12, 9 of them won. The initial 3 traded flat basically, but had small losses. The next 9 all made money. The average percentage gain was 7.12%, and the average annualized rate of return was 54%. Now remember, these results are essentially quick tests. There was no money management involved in terms of managing these portfolios. This is simply point A to point B price performance. But it's supposed to help us understand, was there a possibility here of making some money? Is there something here to work with? Is this putting the odds in my favor? And that ultimately is the reason that Dr. DeLito developed VectorVest and why we developed the Derby tool. The Derby tool is an amazing product, and it is available, by the way, if you want to look at it. There's a 2-week trial available for it free of charge. But VectorVest has always been about sharing information with our subscribers, not just pushing more data at them. And so if you've ever wondered which strategy or which search should I be using, what's working now, well, we give you the answer every day in the Derby tool and in the VectorVest views. Well, that'll wrap up our presentation for this evening. I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to call us on product support anytime if we can be of help, and have a great weekend.